This is Extra Points, a Pop Warner podcast. I'm your host, Tim Glaze. We're sharing some of the most compelling stories in sports. On this episode, we chat with one of the best offensive linemen in NFL history, Bengals great and Hall of Famer, Anthony Munoz. Anthony, great to meet with you today, and thanks for joining the podcast. Generally speaking, what role do you see football or sports in general playing in the development of a kid and learning in terms of shaping them for the rest of their lives?
You know, it's interesting because I played all three sports growing up and then through high school, played football and baseball in college. In sports, a tremendous tool for young people. But I don't think, at least I haven't experienced another sport that does it like football. I mean, you know, the things you learn about yourself, the things you learn about other people. When I go out and talk, I'll talk leadership, I'll talk teamwork. And I always talk about the five linemen I played with. I mean, the different backgrounds we came from, different parts of the country, different cultural, and but you have to work together. And like I shared with what we do with our camps, we might not look like each other, but we have to work together. The things I learned from football, how far you can take yourself with your discipline. You think you can only get to a certain height, but then football teaches you to even go beyond that. The responsibility, the accountability, I mean, the discipline. I'll never forget my son-in-law. You know, his office used to be in our building here, and he walked in one day, and their two sons, our two grandsons, were probably, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years old, and they'd been all over mom and dad to play tackle football. So my son-in-law comes in and goes, "Dad, what do you think about tackle football?" I said, "I have no problem with youth football. I think it would be great. I think they would learn a lot." And I said, when they get older now in high school, it might not be for them, because football isn't for everyone. But I told them the life lessons, the personal lessons that they'll learn from has been amazing. So, yeah, I think sports in general is great for young men and women. But I think football, at least through my experience of all the years, has been an amazing tool to teach me some great, great lessons. Great things about life, about other people. And I still, I've been out of the league for 32 years, and I still use a lot of what I learned in the game in my everyday life and non-for-profit business, community activities I do. So, I really highly recommend youth football for young people.
You also mentioned that you teach them tools to overcome adversity. And adversity, everything I've read about Anthony Munoz, it really starts with adversity. Like every story on you goes back to your 3 injuries in college. You have to really get focused and make it a goal to get back to that Rose Bowl. And tell us about that a little bit in terms of the mindset you needed to overcome your own adversity in pursuit of a goal and playing in the NFL.
Well, first of all, when I talk and I speak a lot to young people and to people in general, I said, I've never met a successful person that hasn't gone through some type of adversity, obstacles that they've had to overcome. And it's life. I mean, life. Football, I mean, I haven't met a football player, Hall of Famer, that hasn't gotten knocked down during the game. And the same thing in life. You get knocked down, but are you going to get back up and fight after that? And that's what we have to do in football and in life. And I share people. I share with people. You mentioned the 3 knee operations in college. I mean, and I really believe my upbringing and what I went through. We didn't have a whole lot. My mom raised 5 by herself. We never had a car. We walked everywhere unless uncle stepped in. Transportation was scarce. But mom taught us work ethic and responsibility. And then all of a sudden you start getting people, a support team around you that really reinforces that and helps you. And that, to me, that's what really helped me in my 4 years at USC. First and foremost was my faith. Then I got married my sophomore year, so my wife Dee Dee, and we're still hanging out after 47 years. She's still taking care of me, but the support group, the medical team that took care of me and put me back together, the training, the trainers that helped me get through the rehab, and then the strength coaches that got me back, and the coaches. So you really have to tap in. You can't be, I tell people, when you're going through that adversity, those obstacles, you can't isolate yourself. You have to stay engaged. And that was one of the pieces of advice that I gave my son. As his time at Tennessee, he was a 4-year starter at the University of Tennessee, but he did sit 1 year out because of a knee. And the first thing I told him, I said, "Michael, do not isolate yourself. Stay engaged with your team." And he hung out with with them, and he was around them the whole time. And the following year, he stepped in and then started 3 years, was a two-time captain, two-time All-American. And to me, that was the key for me. I mean, it would have been very easy to isolate myself in college because I was married. I could have stayed away, but I'd go out and visit them during game, during practice during the week, and go back and take care of my work. And then game day, I was the official spatter. I carried my little tape around, and if the guys needed to get spatted, I would be engaged and I'd encourage them. So, there's a lot that goes into overcoming adversity, and I think the main thing that I share with people is do not isolate yourself. Seek help, seek advice and mentors, or else you're just going to throw the towel in. And that's what really allowed me to continue to come back, and especially my senior year. At least the first two injuries, I played 7 games my freshman year, 9 games my junior year after before getting hurt. My senior year, I missed the entire season. I got hurt the very first game, the second time we had the ball. And so I hung in there, kept my schedule of going to school and getting things done. I was married, but then once we won the Pac-10 again, we're going through our 3rd Rose Bowl. I hadn't played in a Rose Bowl. I was ready physically, and I had to talk the coach into letting me practice, but he saw I was serious. And I played the entire game, played the entire Rose Bowl, the only game my senior year. And as they say, the rest was history. But so I wasn't going to let those adverse situations take me down. Kept fighting, and so that's what that's the message I share, is that we're going to, regardless to what field you're in, regardless to what you do, we're all going to go through some type of adversity. And all you have to do is look at a football game, the adversity you go through a game. I mean, you might be flying high, and all of a sudden you might be down 14 points, not able to run the football, not able to So how are you going to overcome that adversity, even just during a football game?
Yeah, what's interesting about that Rose Bowl story is the Brown family was paying attention to the game that day. Ultimately, they drafted you for the Bengals with the 3rd overall pick at a time where you weren't even sure where you would go in the draft.
Right.
But part of that draft story, you were 3rd overall pick in 1980. But one of the things I really enjoyed about that story is this was 1980. We're talking about last month. We're in Green Bay, all the glitz and the glamour, ESPN. It's really it's an event now. But back in 1980, you were waiting in an apartment for a phone call.
Yeah.
And so, what was that experience like just getting that phone call, and how fresh is that memory in your mind?
It's been 45 years, but it's like it happened yesterday because, prior to my senior year, they'd projected me a top 10 pick. After that 3rd knee operation, they said he'd be lucky to sign as a free agent. Definitely not going to be drafted. But like you mentioned, the Brown family was watching that Rose Bowl. I had a big advocate with them, Mike McCormick, who's a Hall of Fame tackle, had coached here, and he was one of my biggest fans when he was with the team here. So I didn't really know what to expect. Draft day, the Bengals flew me in January to check me out and check me out and check me out. They were the only teams. Forrest Gregg, Hall of Fame tackle, was just hired as the new head coach. He came out and worked me out, but still, there was a lot of uncertainty. So when the draft started, there was about 4 of us, 4 couples in the same little apartment complex. ESPN, that was the first year that ESPN started covering the draft, but they had no videos. They weren't flying anybody to New York to have them on TV. I definitely was not wearing the suits they're wearing today, but it was one of those things where, okay, let's just pray and see and really all I wanted was a chance to get to an NFL camp. It didn't matter if it was a draft pick or a free agent, just to see if I could compete on that level. And of course, it happened quickly. I mean, the Bengals not only drafted me, but the 3rd pick in the draft after missing the entire season. And, my wife and I sat there after we got that phone call early in the draft. And I mean, I was weeping. After we composed ourselves, we looked at each other and we're like, we're going to Cincinnati. And we both said, we're Cincinnati. But so I'm thankful. I mean, like I said, it's been 45 years, but it's like it happened yesterday. And I mean, that phone call we got, April 22nd, 1980 was a call that would change our lives forever.
The getting drafted is really a result of some of the hard work you've done on your own to even get into a position to play that Rose Bowl. But once you get to Cincinnati, I imagine you mentioned there's uncertainty. There was, I think that the word was reasonable risk in looking at you and taking you. So you probably had a lot of feedback from doctors and coaches in terms of, okay, you're coming to the NFL now. This is what this is what the NFL is, and how do you
Yeah.
become an NFL player? Over the next 12 years, you missed 3 games. So that's
Yeah.
very different than your college
Yeah.
career. So in terms of taking feedback from coaches and direction from doctors, I mean,
Yeah.
how did that initial few months in Cincinnati help shape the rest of your
Well,
career?
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that because in my experience, it really wasn't the coaches, the medical staff, because once you get here, you have to produce. I mean, it doesn't matter. You're a number 3 pick. They expect you to be in the starting lineup and produce. They're not going to give you a year to, at least when I came in. So it was more looking at my teammates to learn how to become professionals. And after going through those three new operations, I'd already established a discipline where lifting 4 or 5 days a week, and I was a runner. I ran every day during the off season, couple of days during. So the fact that I had 3 knee operations in college was an incentive that now the Bengals drafted me. It's my job now. It's time I got to produce. And so in order to produce, I have to be in the best shape and as strong as possible. And every one of those injuries in college were kind of a freak thing. And I knew the stronger and the better shape I was in, the risk would go down. And that was the thing. I wanted to be in such great shape that every play I was going to go 100%. And I really believe the risk of injury when you're going 100% and you're not thinking about injury, you're not going to get hurt. I mean, injuries are part of football. But, the thing that really drives me nuts is that, they're constantly talking about, we're not going to play this guy. We don't want to get him hurt. My philosophy is you think about getting hurt, you're going to get hurt. I mean, not once did I think about getting hurt after my knee operations in college. I got rehabbed, and I was back on the field thinking about producing. The same thing in the NFL. I wasn't thinking, oh my goodness, I haven't made but one full season in college. I have to. No, my goals, I started setting goals when I got drafted. Of course, you have your team goals, playoffs, playoff Super Bowl. But then my personal goals were every time I put the Bengal uniform on, I'm under contract. I'm going to be on the field. I want to play 10 plus years. I want to be, regarded as one of the best. And to miss my first game in week 14 of my 11th year, I mean, to me, that was like, I took what others were doing. I mean, the Archie Griffins when I got here, the Reggie Williams, the Jim LeClairs, and the work ethic they had in preparing. I took that and said, well, I got to do the same thing, and I'm going to go far beyond of what I think I can do. So my whole motivation was being the best teammate I could possibly be and playing as long as I could play. I mean, it was, I guess, and you hear it a lot. I mean, you hear it all the time. I was drafted in the 5th round. I was supposed to be a first round. So now I have a chip on my shoulder. That to me, that is a phrase that I totally do not like because regardless to where you were drafted, it's your job. And that's the approach I took. I wasn't thinking about all the reporters that said I wasn't going to make it or all the people that said, find something else to do. I didn't think about that. My whole thought was Bengals drafted me. They believe I can play. So now they're paying me. It's my job. And I play as long as I can. And I want to just show them that they made the right choice by being the best employee and the best football player I can possibly be. I can tell you not once did I think about, I got a chip on my shoulder. I'm playing to show this person. No, it was my job. I wanted to provide for my family and play as long as I could. And I ended up playing 13 years. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. One of the things that you did mention a couple of times in there is you wanted to be a good teammate. Earlier, you said you often talk about the other linemen that you've been on teams with. Like, and it is really interesting. Like, you hear stories about the offensive line. It's kind of they're kind of like the unsung heroes of the team. The stat lines never really show up for them. And but what is it about like? If you call it a brotherhood, call it what if you want. Like, what is it about like being on that offensive line that really connects those linemen together as one unit?
Well, I think first of all, the key word is a unit. Other positions. I mean, you're a group. You're in a group, but I don't think there's any other position where you have to work together in order to be successful as a unit. And I think that's the thing, man. And I think a lot of the personalities are similar. I mean, people see us as big, strong, guys. But personality-wise, off the field, we're some of the easiest going guys. We don't let a whole lot bother us. But you almost you have to switch the switch when you get on the field. And there's guys that, you don't want to meet in an alley if, they're not on your side and something's gone wrong. But off the field, it's just completely different. And we spend so much time together because it is a unit. Here's an example. So it's almost 50 years since I entered USC. And right now, my wife Dee Dee and I can fly back to California for an anniversary or maybe a birthday or maybe somebody. And there's 5 couples, and we usually go out to dinner. 5 couples, and it's 5 offensive linemen. We met as freshmen at USC, and 4 of us were married in college, and one married shortly after college. And all 5 couples, we've known each other since we were 17, 18 years old, and we still hang out together. That is the unique and special thing in the brotherhood that you talk about with offensive linemen. The guys here that I played with, I think we have just about all but one guy that I played with, or maybe 2. One's in Iowa and one's down in Georgia. But, we hang out, we see each other, we hang out. So it is a very special thing. And it's one of those things, again, getting back to the word unit. We have to work as a unit to be successful. And, and that's where you, at least for me, I wanted to be the best teammate. And I thought about the guy I played next to either, all the time or even the tight end, is I want them to believe and trust that I'm going to be ready every Sunday once we strap it up and go out and play together.
The line, we talk about the line here a lot at Pop Warner in terms of our rules. We're trying to get a little bit on the safety side of things. So our offensive line, defensive line, the younger groups, we don't allow in a 3-point stance. We start them in a 2-point stance. You see a little bit of that in the game now. And then as they progress, we get them involved in 3-point stances to prepare them for middle school, high school, and so forth. The game has evolved over time, particularly as it relates to both offensive and defensive line. Like, how do you see the evolution of the game in this regard?
Well, I'm going to be transparent with you, and I would love to see guys get down in a 3-point stance more in the NFL. I just, when I was playing a long time ago, we had the option. I did a lot of up stance 2-point, did a lot of 3-point, did 2-point and run. I mean, for me, it was more just disguising and not allowing the defense to know. I just don't understand the higher majority of times that guys stay in an up stance. And maybe I'm old school. I think for young kids, maybe it is, health or safer for them. But I think, and I'm not one that says, well, back in the day, I still think that offensive line is all about technique, and technique. And I see a lot of excellent technique, and I see a lot of not so good technique as I look at offensive line play. And I'll give you a prime example. I had a friend of mine videotape and send me. He texted me 4 plays of the Detroit Lions offensive run game, and he says, "Anthony, you have to check this out. Nobody can stop this. Nobody knows what they're doing. It's something new." And I watched the 4 plays, and I just chuckled. I wrote back to him. I said, it's amazing. They are really good, but they do run that zone blocking scheme better than anybody does in the league right now. They double team like nobody else. They come off on the second level. I said, it's something that's been being run for 30 to 40 years. We ran the zone blocking scheme just about the whole time I was in the league. We led the league in rushing with that same scheme 2 or 3 times. But they just run it. So, and because they do it with such great technique and they're committed to doing it, I still think it's all about technique. So that's just one of the things it's evolved. I mean, there's no question guys are bigger, stronger, faster, more athletic, but at times I don't know if the technique is as good as it should be or could be with the athletes you have in today's game. But I still think I still love watching it. I think it's still the best team sport in the world.
What about, like, to go back to, if you're talking to a young person of any age, even up to high school age, what would your advice be to help them be like a better lineman or the best lineman in their league?
Well, first of all, I'd say just really work on your flexibility and feet and hands. I mean, I think flexibility is something that I don't know if enough people stress. And I think with flexibility comes the ability to move quicker, to when you get in different positions to overcome that and to recover. But I would say really work on flexibility and do a lot of foot speed stuff for an offensive lineman. I think the lower of gravity you can put yourself into by bending at the knees and staying in that coiled position, I think you become a much better offensive lineman.
Hey all, so just when you thought your fall season could be over, you can get the team together for an exciting new flag football tournament. For the first time, Pop Warner is partnering with NFL Flag to host a national flag football event. The Crown Classic will take place in Charlotte, North Carolina this December 12th and 13th, with divisions across many age groups, both co-ed and girls. Registration opens September 2nd. For more information, check out popwarner.com. Now back to the episode.
And kids in general, I know the game has changed so much. We're seeing a lot we're hearing from some coaches, not all coaches, that we have kids that are, or kids in general, are more concerned about or interested in their individual highlight than maybe the team success. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know you probably see it too. But what's interesting is like one of the hallmarks of your career is really based on humility. You may, be confident, be successful, but always show them a little humility. So, when you look at the game today, do you think we're lacking humility? And what would you tell a kid how would you tell a kid to actually play the game and demonstrate the game?
All I have to say, when I was about 7 years old, I had two brothers, one 2 years older than me. We lost, but my oldest brother is still with us, 8 years older than me. And one of the first things he told me when he saw that I had some ability, I played baseball as my first love, so I played with my two brothers, and they were older than me. And they saw that. He said, "Anthony, you don't ever talk about how good you are." He says, "If you're good enough, people will talk about you." To me, little did I know that he was teaching me humility, and I've that stuck with me. And I mean, that was 60 years ago, and it rings in my ear like it was yesterday. Football is, I mean, if you're a boxer, if you're a golfer, maybe you expect that, but you cannot do what you do, regardless of what position you're in, if all 11 don't execute the play. And I'm not a big celebration guy, but I've gotten to be a celebration guy now that they do it as a unit. I mean, before, quarterback would go back, hit the wide receiver, he would score a touchdown. The lineman, which is tough enough, would sprint down there to give him a high five, and the wide receiver would run away from him and look for the camera probably to celebrate. Well, now you got the whole unit celebrating because it takes a whole unit, and I love that. I wait to see what kind of choreography they put together to celebrate as a unit. But humility, I personally, again, I'm probably old school, but I wish there would be more humility in athletics overall, because like I said, unless you're a boxer, a golfer, a tennis player, you depend on your teammates to be successful. So, and that's just the way I was taught. Exactly what I told you, what my brother told me, and that has continued to be part of my mantra as a person, to be humble. And I do things not to get awarded or rewards, but just do things to help people and to be the best. And that happens. And I'm thankful for that. I'm grateful for that, but that is not what I seek out.
The earlier we talked about what you're doing for the youth today. It relates to your foundation, but what you had just mentioned, you learned a lesson 60 years ago when you were a kid, having a role model in your life, whether it's coaches, teachers. Go back to your childhood. Like, what the people that you had around you that were coaches at that time, mentors at that time, what did they mean, and how did they shape your future and your career?
I don't think they would be allowed to do it these days. No, it was one of those things that I had people that had great minds with athletics, but they taught us how to do it the right way. I talked about my brother. I met a baseball coach when I was 7 years old that was the new head of Parks and Recreation, but he was also the new varsity baseball coach that I would attend in 6, 7 years. I ended up playing 3 years at third base from on the varsity team. Great baseball mind, but you had to do it right with him, Jim Seaman. I mean, if you didn't stay within the rules, you were going to pay the consequences, and you were going to be riding the bench, even though it didn't matter if you were the starting third baseman or starting pitcher, if you didn't do things right. So I learned how to do things correctly. My mom taught us responsibility. If I wanted to go out in the summer and play sports, I had to do my chores at home. During the school year, if I wanted to go out and hang out with my guys and play basketball or football or whatever it was, had to get the homework done. So responsibility, work ethic. And so those people around me taught me that hey, you're no big deal. I mean, you might be gifted in athletics, and I was at a young age. I mean, I was playing, with kids that were 3, 4, 5 years older than me at a young age, but that didn't matter to people. It was the type of person that you were, not the athlete. So I'm thankful that I had those people around me at a young age, and it's really and now I get to really try to mentor and share that with young people.
Right. Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's what we hope our coaches are like that as
Yeah.
well. So, one of the things that obviously is a goal for almost every kid is to reach that Super Bowl, the NFL Super Bowl, at least our football players. You've been to two.
Hmm.
The second one was one of the most epic games I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So just tell us about your Bengals experience as it relates to reaching that level of success and being able to go to two Super Bowls. And what I found most interesting about that is each team they were fairly short span apart. Two different head coaches, two different quarterbacks.
Yeah.
A lot of different things have changed. You were a constant between those two. Just tell us a little bit about that part of your career.
Well, I think the key word you mentioned was reaching the Super Bowl. I think the journey for both the Super Bowls that we made it to, the journey was amazing. So the first one, uh, you know, so 2 years before I got here, the team was 4-12, 2 years in a row. My rookie year, we get a new head coach, Forrest Gregg. We're 6-10, but you could see the improvement. We were buying everybody that was here before. Everybody that got here was buying into Forrest Gregg's plan. I mean, they got a disciplinarian, played for Vince Lombardi. Guys that were here, we had a lot of number ones. All of a sudden, they were ready to play. His second year, we get to the Super Bowl after going 6-10 in 1980. We very easily could have been 10-6. We lost several games late in the game. So I could see then all of a sudden we go to Super Bowl 16. The 49ers were basically coming through that same that path. They weren't very good in the late 80s, and all of a sudden they're there with Bill Walsh and Joe Montana. We're there for the first one, very close. We had all the momentum in the second half. That goal line stance was a big play. Not to mention the two squib kicks early or late in the first half. They ended up getting 6 points, two field goals from squib kicks we couldn't handle on kickoff. So we're really far down. We come back. We're dominating the game, but we end up losing by less than a touchdown that one. Super Bowl 23, the same thing. 88 season, we have a great season, but 87 season is the strike shortened season. We had the replacement players. We ended up going like 4-11 because we ended up playing few of the games, but again, the chemistry was not very good on the team, and we still had 5 guys from the first Super Bowl playing, but we're in disarray. I would say 88, we come into camp. Sam Weiss, first Super Bowl, Forrest Gregg. He played in the Super Bowl, won a Super Bowl. Now he's coach Forrest. Now our second coach, Sam Weiss, great offensive mind. He saw 87, things weren't the way they should have. So we went to camp in 88. And instead of, I used to room with Max Montoya, another offensive lineman. You room with guys from the same position, guys you were familiar with and comfortable with. Sam says, this year in camp, O's rooming with D, white with black, different positions. I ended up rooming with the linebacker, Leo Barker, a great guy. But now what happens there, instead of at nighttime, the short time you have after everything's over, you get all your linemen coming to your room because you're rooming with the linemen. Now I'm rooming with the defensive players. So now I had defensive backs coming into my room. You go to a meal and you're eating with other guys other than just your offensive linemen all the time. So I think we built a great bond that still exists today. And that's, I think, was the difference in that season. We go to Super Bowl 23, and of course, as you mentioned, the drive by Joe Montana going 92 yards, 3 minutes. We lose that one in the last 34 seconds. So I think the journey to both those games were like, man, it was unbelievable the way we got there, and we fell short twice, but we got there, and the experience was unbelievable.
Do you have a favorite memory of your playing career? Like, what is the highlight of your career?
Wow. We talked about the Super Bowls. I always say the great thing about those two Super Bowls that we played the divisional game and the AFC Championship games at home for our fans that were unbelievable. But as an individual memory, it had to be, I was in my 5th year. We had a rookie quarterback that was taken over for 2 starters. Ken Anderson was hurt, our starting quarterback, and then our backup was hurt. And so Boomer Esiason was a rookie. And we're up in Cleveland. We have a rookie head coach, Sam Weiss, who for the first week put me at an H-back because he would bring in extra linemen, a goal line. And we'd have like either 6 or 7 linemen, and he called it our we be formation because we be scoring when we get in that formation. And that was the first week up in Cleveland that I actually had a pass route and was eligible for a pass. But I never thought they would call it. We're down 7, first and goal at the 1. We have to score to tie it and go in overtime. And he calls the play with the rookie quarterback to roll to his right, left-handed, and I'm the primary receiver. And I'm thinking, I saw him call that play. I said, this coach doesn't want to coach in the NFL very long. He's calling a pass play to an offensive tackle. And I end up catching my first touchdown from Boomer Esiason. We kick the extra point, we tie it up, we go in overtime and win it in the field goal. But to me, to catch a game-tying touchdown against your interstate rival, the Cleveland Browns, from a rookie quarterback that you'd end up playing with for 9 years, was a highlight of my career as an offensive lineman, because, as you know, it doesn't happen very often for offensive linemen. But I had a lot of them, throughout with games and stuff. But I'd say that was probably right up there at the top.
Well, that's great. And I know it's been a great career. You're wearing your Hall of Fame hat. So you definitely made the Hall in 1998. And so that really leads me to this question. When you think about your legacy, and this is in light of what you're doing with the foundation, I mean, you have quite a bit of a legacy now. So how do you see your legacy?
Well, I guess the main thing is that, first of all, I'd have to put God-fearing man at the front, someone that, fears the Lord and wanted to serve the Lord through everything he does. And that's where my motivation comes. But whatever I do, I gave it full effort. I didn't leave. I have no regrets. Wasn't successful all the time, but I gave it a full effort. And that's what I want my legacy to be, is that whatever he did, he gave it everything and tried to be the best at what he did and just gave it a full effort.
Perfect. Hey, one last question. So we have Pop Warner, we serve kids that are ages pretty much 5 up until 15, particularly on the football side. On the cheer and dance side, we have young girls from ages about 4 up until 18. So
oh wow, that's great.
Just think about put yourself in a position where you're speaking to one of them or a group of them right now. What advice would you leave them with?
I would say, first of all, as they probably already know if they've been playing, it's not an easy sport, but have fun. Learn as much as you can. Listen to everything that you're being taught, because not only would it make you a better player, but through experience, what you learn on the field is going to make you a better person in the way you live your life. That's what I would tell them, is just take everything in and put it in your memory bank, but have fun while you're doing it.
And I know you've got a lot of good things going in Cincinnati with your foundation. So let's just start talking about your foundation, the Anthony Munoz Foundation. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I can. It's a foundation that I have a passion about. I'm here. I'm part of it. I mean, I run the meetings with our board. I'm very involved with our staff. It's one of those things. I didn't start until 8 years after I retired, because first of all, I understand when you're playing, you have relevance, you have leverage, but being a dad, being a husband, and being an NFL football player, I didn't have time to get totally engaged in my own foundation. So 8 years afterwards, we started the Anthony Munoz Foundation. We're 24 years old. So we're right now, we're about 3 weeks away from our big event, which is a big dinner, over 400 people. And then the day after, like a lot of people do, we do a golf tournament at TPC Rivers Bend, which is our 24th tournament. We have 8 programs. We work from young people from kindergarten all the way through seniors in high school, probably 25 to 3,000 young people a year that we touch. We have a mentoring program that goes K through 5, and then we didn't want to lose them in junior high, so we established another mentoring program, and we work with kids from 6 through 8. So we do mentoring once a week, throughout the school year. And every time we do a program, all the kids are involved. We usually we tell them they're now a member of the Munoz family, and we try to do other things, like we try to get Reds tickets or take them to the zoo, or different things like that. So we try to really engage with them. In addition to our mentoring program, we have 2 overnight character camps. One is in the fall, we had in April, and then we'll have one in the spring in April, and then one in the fall. We take about 130, 140 young men away. We do teach them a little football. We got to do that. But mainly we work on character, team building. And again, we do 2 of those. One of them is pretty multicultural in the spring. And then in the fall, we do 100% Hispanic kids. So we do 2 of those. And then the 2 days after our golf and dinner, we do what we call our football academy. We have about 400 young people. 20% of those campers are young ladies. And basically the same template. we teach them a little football, but we're going to teach them character, team building exercises, and teach them, hey, I might not look like you and you might not look like me, but we have to work together. We got to respect each other. We got to, we've been doing that for, 25 to 30 years. And then we have in October, we have what we call our youth leadership seminar. We bring together anywhere from 80 to 90 high schools. We have motivational leadership speakers. We have breakout sessions during the day where we have individuals, we call them community stakeholders, will lead the high school students through conversations. A lot of times, there are topics that they won't talk about, but we get them. And then at the end of the day, we have a community service project challenge. They put together their own community service projects, and they go out in the community and do an amazing job. That's our leadership seminar. We have 2 types of scholarships. We just gave one earlier a month ago. It's called our Straight A. We have 9 male, 9 female student athletes that excel in academics, athletics, achievement, attitude, and also active in the community, but a big component is overcoming adversity. That's a one-time scholarship, $2,000 to $5,000 for 18 individuals. And then at our dinner in the summer, we'll give out $20,000 scholarships. We just had yesterday, we just had 15 interviews of potential scholarship recipients. So that's what we do. Like I said, we're 24 years old. I love what we do. I'm getting to a point now where I get to fly to New York to do something, and I have dinner with one of our scholarship recipients that's working for a big hedge fund group up there. Or, we get, like I have a guy who went through my overnight camp as an 8th grader. He now brings young men from his community, and he coaches that. He actually left, played football at West Virginia, came back. He's working in the community. Now he's coaching probably half dozen years now and bringing young men. So that's a fun thing that we see. It's kind of coming full circle now. And it's a passion of mine. It's, I love doing it, and I'm very engaged. And so that's what we're doing at the Munoz Foundation, to engage the tri-state area to impact young people mentally, physically, and spiritually.
For Pop Warner, I'm your host, Tim Glaze. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. This podcast is a production of Pop Warner Little Scholars, the premier national governing body for youth football and cheer and dance. Visit us at popwarner.com.